My background is in marine biology. I work in a university, but I have always been worried about the impact that humans are having on the systems, because my research lines are on conservation, on marine conservation, and once you start working on conservation, you realize that there's a big gap between what's happening in the real world and what society perceives. And so I started being involved in policy as well. I worked in a task force in Portugal that established the National Ocean Strategy. And then I started to be involved also in international agenda for the oceans. There are two main challenges in terms of the long-term impacts that we are facing. One is clearly climate change, because climate change is impacting the ocean in ways that we didn't realize until recently, and those impacts are are bringing lots of change that we don't understand yet. We know that the ecosystems are changing, species are moving. We know that the oceans are acidifying, and this is a real threat for the whole balance of the ocean ecosystems. The second threat, which is less discussed, is the biodiversity crisis. So the impacts that human activities are having at the whole global ocean have the consequence of extracting most of the species in terms of general biomass from the oceans, and this disrupts the whole ecosystem and threatens many of the species that, of course, have a direct connection with humans, because we depend on healthy oceans so that we can also have a healthy environment and our societies can thrive. Well, from the Estoril meeting till now, I think that there are two or three main big changes. One is the increase in perception. This is a change that we see every day, and this is the good news. People are more aware now of the problems. And this is connected also with some of the international agreements that came into force in between these periods. And of course, the climate agreement is an important one, not only because it wants to tackle a very specific aspect of the human impacts on the globe, but also because there are very strong linkages with the ocean. And this climate agreement could be a true driving force for how we will manage the oceans in the near future. And so I would maybe point these at the two main changes from 2014 till now. The advantage of Portugal is that Portugal is an ocean country. It's perceived as being an ocean country by international partners. And so having an international foundation based in Portugal could be an added value when and if the foundation decides to invest in this international ocean agenda. Portugal has been clearly involved in this agenda in the recent decades, at least since the Expo 1998. And it has some leverage in terms of the United Nations in a way that it can play an honest role in bridging disparate interests that happen between different blocs. And so by raising the profile of Portugal as an ocean country, and a country that not only protects its natural values but also use it in a wise way, Portugal can actually increase its profile as an ocean nation in the international agenda. This foundation in particular could be also benefiting from the fact that this profile of Portugal could play this role, because there is a need for foundations and private organizations, civil society organizations, to help establish good practices, help establish forward-thinking ways of solving the big problems that we face in the oceans today.